welcome back to another episode of Sports Fellas.
Hey,
all right.
There we go.
We're back in business, you guys. Let's do a quick shout out.
So this is Eric again. Like to give a shout out again to my wife, Amber, all the people in the armed forces and the first line people with the vaccines, giving the vaccines.
This is Chuck. I want to give a shout out to Team USA all across the world right now, doing it big and representing the country.
Hey, this is Chris with a K. Just want to shout out to all the folks here, all you guys coming out and hanging out with us again. Thanks, guys.
This is Don. Welcome back, and I'm out here to give a shout out to the fellas here and all those faithful listeners.
Yeah, this is Chaz again. I want to give a shout out to my old teammates over at Washburn University heading into fall camp. Hope you guys take advantage of that. I know it's a tough 2 weeks, but get through it and make a splash this season. Again, I want to give another shout out to my trading group over at svtgroup.com. Catch us there with live trading call-outs. We have a voice chat. We're usually in there about 6:30 in the morning. Yeah, give us a check out.
All right, thank you, everyone. And your host, Carlos, would like to give a quick shout out to all the audience, listeners, and viewers, also to the family, and shout out to the people behind the scenes. Thank you very much for helping us out doing this. Sorry. All right, so let's get on the show on the road. So don't forget, you guys, we have the contest giveaway. So please sign up at razorcutinfo.wixsite.com/RCI 2021. And also, if you want to enroll, please, for the sign up, make sure you put your comments on the YouTube or as well visit us on the website and take down information. So we greatly appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get the show started. Yeah. So you've been watching the Olympics we see here. I got here that the medal count.
I've got an updated medal count
please,
for today.
Go ahead, Chris. Go ahead with the medal count.
Right now, let's just from top to bottom. USA is a total of 108 with 36 gold. China's got 87 total with 38 gold. Still just a little up there in gold. Then we've got followed by the Russian Olympic Committee, not the Russians, with 69. England with 63 and Japan with 56 total medals. That's how we're looking at the end of. I'm not sure how many. There's going to be some more events tomorrow. They're done for today. It's the middle of or getting close to that.
U.S. women's national team plays for women's basketball gold against Japan tonight, 9:30.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. And we just saw that U.S. lost to Japan in baseball. Am I right? They lost in baseball.
Yeah,
I think it was 2-0.
Supposed to be our sport, man.
Yeah, tough game.
That's about the most competitive we've been in in international baseball in a while.
And that impressed me.
Well, congrats to the U.S. basketball team.
Durant, man, that was a statement for him. I think
A big one.
I think so. People are saying that that's probably the worst men's basketball team we've had in probably a couple of decades. You saw that when they lost to Nigeria in the exhibition game, and then back-to-back. They hadn't lost 2 games, exhibition games back-to-back since the 80s. Yeah, I mean, of course.
Insane.
Of course.
Well, all right. Well, let's go ahead and move on. So we had the Hall of Fame game just happened a couple of days ago. It was the Steelers against the Cowboys.
The Steel Curtain.
The Steel Curtain. And it's just preseason, so let's don't get them boys upset. So we're going to start this off with you, Eric. So what did you see in that game? What did you learn from it?
So early, we have to remember this is preseason. It is the first game. Very sloppy. A lot of turnovers, a lot of miscues. Mason Rudolph proved that he is still the same person. Not very good in the pocket, throwing behind receivers. I was very impressed with how Dwayne Haskins came in. He is the number 2 right now. He passed Mason Rudolph for that spot. The really amazing play was that punter we picked up from Georgia Tech. He did that 40 or 50-yard punt, and it just died on the 1. So I think when you look at preseason and you know about football, and Chaz, you can speak to this, plays like that can make the team and be on a roster.
Yeah, special teams plays are huge in the NFL. If you can win in that third phase, you can change a game.
So, Chris, since you're a Bengals fan, was this a threat or?
I don't put much stock in the preseason games, especially the first preseason game. I'd rather just give out a shout out to all the Hall of Fame inductees. Really, you mind if I run through the list real quick? I think there was 18 jackets they gave out. Steve Atwater, Isaac Bruce, Harold Carmichael, Jimbo Covert, Bill Cower, Alan Faneca, Tom Flores, Cliff Harrison, Stephen Hutchinson, Edrin James, Megatron Calvin Johnson, big name
Greatest.
Jimmy Johnson, John Lynch, and he went in as a safety, not for front office stuff. Peyton Manning, Donnie Shell, Paul Tagliabue, which I guess if you're a commissioner, you get in.
Yep.
And Charles Woodson. Charles Woodson, what can you say
What a
about that,
class.
man? He's
What a
just,
class.
yeah.
That's a phenomenal class.
There's
I still remember
really good ones at the top.
I still remember when John Lynch was with the Buccaneers. He was a ferocious player. And Steve
Broncos.
Hutchinson, you remember in that 2005 when he played for Seattle, if it weren't for him in that line, I don't think Sean Alexander would have been the MVP that year.
I think John Lynch is one of my favorite players from that time. I don't know if he could play in the league today with the way targeting is.
Yeah, no, he was definitely a head lower.
Right.
Take it to him.
So, hey, Chuck, did you watch the game by any chance?
Not at all.
How about you, Don?
I did.
Okay, so what'd you think about Najee Harris? What'd you think about his debut?
He looked pretty good so far. It's just, of course, this first game, so he's going to have to obviously pick it up. He's got the spot, but he needs a little more production, but we'll see in the upcoming weeks in the preseason.
I think he was a little hesitant, which, that's the first time he ran up against NFL players. So he's kind of dancing a little bit more than he did at Alabama. But he gets a transition time too, just like any college player in their first time. But it is his spot.
Do they have the line starting to form out with the steel?
It is still in progress.
Still in front.
I want to see Najee Harris 15, 22 carries in going into the fourth quarter with a head of steam. That's the Najee Harris I want to see. Of
course.
I want to see him get some carries, obviously, in preseason, just so he can see what it's like to get those calls in from the sideline and kind of run against an NFL-style defense. It won't be the same week one, obviously, but you want to see him touch the ball. But you want to see this guy week one have 12, 15 carries and maybe 40, 50 yards.
I think he needs 2 touchdowns week one.
I think it'd be huge for his confidence.
Absolutely.
And I think it's doable with that Steelers offense. But the real
I don't think they want to
game
keep Ben holding on to the ball too much
Right.
this year.
No.
So
is Dak Prescott is still not playing.
Still rehab.
Yep.
And
And a sprained shoulder.
We're going to get to that.
All right. We'll talk more about it as the season is unveiling. So let's go ahead and give a quick thanks to our following sponsors.
Razor Cut Information would like to thank you, Ernie Reyes, at State Farm, located 11330 East Central, Wichita, Kansas. Please visit Ernie to talk about your home, auto, life insurance needs. As they say, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there. Thank you, Ernie.
All right. So we're going to go ahead and keep continuing on the NFL. So this time we're going to talk about the AFC and NFC East teams. So we're going to start off with the AFC. So first up, the Miami Dolphins. So their record was 10-6. I mean, that's a good record, impressive, but they did not make the playoffs. So therefore, in their additions this year in the draft, they picked up Jalen Weddle from Alabama.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide. So we're going to go ahead. We'll go ahead and start. We're going to start with you, Eric. So what do you see Miami doing this year?
So I think right now it's Tua time. The backup is Jacoby Brissett, last time I checked, but it's Tua's spot. He has no competition now at the quarterback position, so it's his show. They drafted him early in the first round. He sat kind of last year after he struggled in the first 3 games. They put in Fitzmagic, and now it's his time to shine. They went out and got his wide receiver from college, so there's that was a theme in the draft, if you noticed that. So there's camaraderie there, and look for that to be a connection that will be probably one to be rivaled with this year. Hopefully, Tua can avoid the famous first-round quarterback sophomore slump because now there's tape on him. They know what he does. They know his tendencies. I'm excited to see it, though.
How about you, Chuck?
For them, I think their run game's a big gap as far as talent and offensive scheme-wise. So if you don't have a well-rounded offense like that, then you can have really decent receivers and a quarterback on the up and up. But I think that run game is just too big of a factor in the NFL today, and they're definitely lacking in that aspect right now.
I'm curious to see what they do with Xavier Howard. I know they're in a little bit of a contract dispute. My guess is that it looks like everything will probably work out. He just wants a little more money, as we all do, right?
Right.
Oh, yeah.
So that'll be curious. let's see what Tua does. I like this. I like Dolphins. They're my favorite colors, orange and green. Not my favorite team, but my favorite colors. It'll be curious. I think they're gonna be probably about where they were last year, just not quite able to get over the edge. I think it's going to be between. They're going to be battling with New England for that second place in the division and possible wild card. Do they come up short again like they did last year? I mean, 10 wins typically get you into the playoffs. It didn't work out for them last year. So,
do you recall what game it was that they lost and just blew their chance of going into the playoffs?
I don't. Not off the top of my head.
I can't remember. I wonder if it was Arizona. I don't remember. But okay. How about you, Don?
I haven't seen much improvement with them so far compared to the team they had last year, so we'll just have to wait and see what they look like throughout the preseason.
Well, here's my perspective. I don't think there should be so much pressure on Tua. Again, he did sit out some of last year.
He's a first-round pick, though.
Yes, I understand, but I think that it's a really hard place to come into, especially with how bad that franchise was. But the way that they've been able to load up in the drafts and make moves like that, again, Xavier Howard doesn't come back. That's huge. He's probably the best corner in the game right now when it comes to just ball skills. I think if Tua just improves a little bit in his deep ball game, that team goes from point A to point B.
I believe is when he got pulled for Fitzpatrick in that game that he did get pulled for was he just wasn't on his deep ball. They push it down the field and he just wouldn't do it.
And as a quarterback looking at the guy, it's just taking that leap from college to the NFL where in Alabama he had these great receivers that were going and eating the ball for him. They're going up.
Well, and they're open. There is not NFL open.
And exactly. And if he has the arm strength, he has all the ability. If he gets his confidence, sets his feet, and delivers the football down the field, he will be perfectly fine. And I think the Miami Dolphins will be okay.
Do you think part of that is trusting his offensive line as well?
I mean, yeah, you get hit a lot in a game. It's not going to be fun to sit your feet and throw the ball. Especially
and last year he was
not a very big guy.
He was still coming off a very serious injury.
True.
Yeah,
from last year.
He's a young guy. He's in Miami. It's not a super explosive offense. It's a tough division when you play the Bills twice a year and you play the Patriots twice a year. Give your respect to Bill Belichick. Defensively, he's going to scheme really, really well, and you have to deal with it.
And that's a good point, Chad. Here's my thing with Miami. Miami, they're a young team. They're a young team. Tua's got plenty of time to keep growing. I mean, in the wide receiver position, I still feel they're still a little weak on that. I don't
Devontae Parker's still there, I believe.
Either one-man show, but I'm talking about like caliber.
You had Jalen Weddle to stretch the field, get Devontae Parker more in those catching those dig routes, post routes, kind of doing similar to what DK Metcalf does, except without taking the roof off the ceiling. You have a Jalen Waddle to kind of clear all that stuff out, make it a little bit easier to get him going on those 5-10-yard passes where you're just maybe struggling on third down, getting the ball quicker out of Tua's hand instead of 3rd and 12. We're looking at 3rd and 7 completion, 10-yard out to Devontae Parker.
That's a good point. You wrap that up for me. All right, so let's go ahead and move on. So we've got the New York Jets, the Jets. So they were last year 2-14. They didn't make the playoffs. Their big addition was they got Zach Wilson from BYU. Now this kid's got an arm on him. So I'm gonna start that with you, Chaz. Where do you see New York going this year?
I don't think they're a very good football team this year. They just have a lot of places they need to grow. I like the Zach Wilson kid. I wish the NFL was a little bit different with these young quarterbacks. He's going to come in, be in the hot seat. He's in New York. He's going to have the publicity. And he just doesn't have the talent around him to be successful, I don't think. Not year one. It'll be interesting to see what he does down the stretch. New York did ruin Sam Darnold, though, which I don't think is a bust.
Yet to be seen.
Yeah, I think that he'll have some success in Carolina.
Absolutely.
But I think Sam Darnold, even watching him in the USC games when I was still playing ball, he was dropping my jaw to the floor, and he's younger than me.
True.
I think he has insane upside. I think just being in New York with the Jets with a terrible football team is a tough position to be in.
A terrible coach.
I mean, It made Brandon Marshall go crazy.
It did.
That's why he's on First Take now. So, how about you, Don?
They're just not that good just yet, but can't be any worse than 2-14. So I said
You can be 0-16.
That is possible. But I don't think they'll do that bad though.
Now,
I haven't seen their schedule, but I think you can squeak more than 2 games out unless you're tanking.
well, how about on the wide? Okay, so back to the wide receiver position. Is Robbie Anderson still on the team for the Jets?
Oh,
I don't know.
I'm not sure. There was
I
a
thought
lot.
he was
of-
in Carolina.
No, he's in Carolina. I forgot.
There's
that.
been a lot.
I'm
going
not
on with
sure
that
who the
organization.
Jets-
Nobody wanted to
I
be
have to
there.
look that up.
Okay, well, that goes to show there. So, Chris,
Yeah.
you feel Zach Wilson is going to
I don't
lead the
know.
team to the promised land?
I don't think it's not right now. No one's going to lead him to the promised land. I'm not a fan of Gase. He was horrible in Miami. He was horrible in New York. The best thing he ever did was he got to coach Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning's made a star out of a lot of coaches. I think that Saleh, I'm not sure how you say his name, Saleh, is a better coach. I think they're going to do better. They'll get a couple to 3 more wins just with that coach and kind of a refresh. So, they're all still NFL caliber players. So you get the right coach and get a good scheme, you're going to pull out a few wins.
How about you, Chuck?
I think you might see 0-17 this year for the first time ever in NFL history. No, I don't. Maybe not 0-17, but that's just a team with nothing going for it. I think you can't sit there and say, because you got a really good looking young quarterback, and say our franchise is on the up and up. Every year there's a new young quarterback that's got promise, all the promise in the world. Like, look what they did with Sam Darnold, and I honestly think they're going to do the same thing with this kid. There's only your talent can only go so far in a team or in a sport that relies so much on a team aspect, and I don't think their coaching is even on the way to a promising future.
So, Don, for the audience, tell them real quick on the week 1, just give it to week 1 to week 5. Who would the Jets got?
They go to Carolina. They're at home against the Patriots. They go to Denver. Then they're at home against the Titans. And then they go to Atlanta.
Tough schedule.
That is a tough stretch right there before their bye week.
0-5. Oh, an early bye week then. No, good for
So
the-
Darnold's in
Broncos.
Carolina, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
Oh,
You already know about those games.
He's going to torch.
That's going
I
to be a good
expect
game.
Darnold to play well.
He will. Here's what I have for the Jets. The biggest thing, and Chuck, I'm going to disagree with you. They do have something going for them. It's not a lot, but it's something. They have a culture change, right? So from what I've been seeing in camp, Zach Wilson had a tough first day at camp, but he rebounded well, and that's what you want to see because a lot of Jets quarterbacks don't rebound well when they have a bad day. Like I said, the culture change with the new coach. A lot of the players are buying in. I watched Zach Wilson at the combine. His arm is legit. 100% arm is legit. They tried to compare him to Patrick Mahomes. I thought that was a very unfair comparison. A little disrespectful to Patrick. But we'll see. I want to see the kid do well.
So what would you say to an 0-5 start? What does that do to your culture?
You got to sell out and buy in.
Yeah.
They're going to have to
gotta
play
sell out.
close football games. I think that they
Yeah.
need to find a way to make a lot of these games competitive or find some upside and progress throughout the season. I think you want to see Zach Wilson make his mistakes early. You want to see him progress through the year. Hopefully they can keep him protected and he's not beat up a lot. Maybe establish a run game for him.
He can move in the pocket, but like you said, Chaz, with these young quarterbacks, you have to do things to help him build his confidence as fast as possible. Because that's something the Jets did not do with Sam Darnold. They did not build his confidence at all.
Well, how about hey, Chris, you think the Jets, it would help them a little bit if they break games with Buffalo, New England, and Miami?
If they break games,
But then
so
as
they-
in, like, split games.
split for sure. Oh, for sure. If they can get a win on the Patriots, that might just be their Super Bowl. It's like the Browns beating the Steelers.
But the connection for the Jets that's going to be the thing is Elijah Moore. If Zach Wilson can find a way to get the ball to Elijah Moore, that will probably be that team's saving grace and probably the only good thing that they can do, Chuck.
That won't be
Yeah.
enough. But I hear you.
It's like I said, a small start.
It'll be a spark for them. It's a start of something that could be good. Like I said, you want to see that team build. You want to see that connection grow. You want to see Zach Wilson maybe throw 2 picks, 2 touchdowns week 1. You don't want him to come out and just do flat out terrible, but you want him to get that rookie shakiness out that we see in a lot of these guys.
Absolutely.
I think you're looking for a big improvement in defense too. They hired a fired an offensive-minded coach, hired a defensive-minded head coach. So
That's part of the culture change.
Yeah, I mean we're going back. A lot of times your defensive coaches are more back to basics. We're going to play hard nosed. We're going to run the ball. We're going to control the clock. I mean that's typical. Marvin Lewis did it.
Fundamentals. Bill Cowher did it.
The Titans are still doing it better than anybody in football.
They are right now. Yes.
I'd like to see the Jets. Remember in '98, back when Bill Parcells was coaching, that kind of football style. I want to see that kind of.
I like seeing Tyreek Hill run all over the place and Andy Reid make guys do all kinds of freaky motions. I like it.
All right.
I like seeing tight ends split out instead of hitting some dude that's 280 pounds in the mouth.
All right. Well, we'll see. We'll see. All right. So next up, the Buffalo Bills. They went 13-3. They won the division. They beat the Ravens, but they lost to the Kansas City in the AFC Championship. So we're going to start this off with Chris. Do you feel that Buffalo's going to repeat and win the division?
I do. In my opinion, they're the best team in that division, and I think that the Mahomes-Allen competition is going to be great for years to come. He did sign that big contract recently. I think that's a great deal for those guys. I mean, they're moving forward at a great pace. So, yeah, I mean, they showed an amazing improvement for a long time. I mean, who thought the Bills were going to do anything, especially, lose so many Super Bowls back to back and think they're, cursed for forever. So, yeah, it's exciting. I like the Bills. I think they're going to turn around. I mean, you got Diggs there. I think they picked up Emmanuel Sanders as well. Cole Beasley. I mean, that's a great receiving.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, they're doing some good stuff.
What do you think, Chuck?
Yeah, they're the team in the division, 100%, and they're going to be that way for probably the next 4 to 5 years, pending these contracts and extensions and stuff. But you still have, for that team, when you have the Jets and the Dolphins, they're looking for short-term success to show their programs progression. That's what they're after, right? They're still Fortune 500 company teams. Like, the money's coming in. These programs these organizations are still big, like, as far as that goes. So they're looking at short-term gain. The Buffalo Bills, they're long-term, and that long-term means how are you going to get over the hump to these top 3 teams in the AFC? Because if you can't make it to the Super Bowl, I mean, yeah, you can make it and lose 4 times, you can lose 5 times, but at least you made it. That was their deal. But they're trying to get over that hump, and that the top 3 teams in the AFC are top 3 in the NFL also, I think. So them trying to get over that is their big deal. Key additions-wise, I don't think they've made that kind of caliber addition to say, hey, now they're going to get it. Now they're going to do it. Now we know what's going to happen. I think what their thing is that game that they show up to in the first and second round of the playoffs, you keep that momentum, and then you get past that fourth quarter, past that team, and you beat the Chiefs, then your program's where you want to see them go.
So pretty much you're telling me that they still don't have the weaponry to go at it against Kansas City.
No, I think they do. I think it's that game you have to show up. Like, it's any given Sunday. The Jets can beat the Buffalo Bills 1 out of 2 times in the season. Any team can win at any time. But going into that game knowing you can and going into that game knowing you will are 2 different things. Okay. So we'll see how the season goes for them. It's a longer season. Injuries are always a factor, but I think them going into the playoffs, that's their end game. They know they're going to be the playoff team. So staying healthy, going to that home stretch, and then, hey, let's turn it on, boys. Let's go.
How about you, Eric?
So what I have is I want to talk about the business of sports, of course. So that contract is 6 years, $258 million with $150 guaranteed. Ooh. That's more guaranteed than Mahomes.
Yeah.
All right. But on average, he gets paid $2 million less. Yeah. So it's a big contract. Shows that they believe in him. He's the guy.
What I saw earlier today was Tom Brady's total salary over his first 20 seasons was like $260 million.
Yep.
His now guaranteed over his first 5-6 years in the league is over that already.
Right.
So I thought that was interesting.
With that big contract, can they bring in that guy that can push them over the hump, just like
Stephon Diggs?
Right. Just like Chuck was saying, can that, with that contract and the salary cap the way it is, because it's not going up because of the pandemic or whatever you want to say. Can they get that player to go over the hump? Can Josh Allen? I think the Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes rivalry will be like Peyton and Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I think it has that kind of connotation and rivalry because
they're both young. Yeah, they got years to come.
So
and they're not leaving their franchise.
So you're not thinking Lamar is in that caliber, in that category?
I don't.
I feel like he'll be in the conversation because he's going to be in those games against them. Like he's going to be at the postseason.
You always have your Drew
relatively
Brees, Aaron Rodgers. You
Right.
have all those guys.
But we're talking about turning the torch
Where
over
Brady
to the
and
next
Manning.
guys.
Where there would be room for improvement for them is that defense. They're going to need to take, because those teams you're playing are the high offensive caliber teams, so your defense has to show up.
McDermott is a defensive coach, right?
He is.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the pass rush, they were
Yeah,
good. It's
I
just
thought
that
their secondary
was real, because especially when they played against the Chiefs,
Mhm.
not in the AFC Championship, but
In the
during
year.
their
Season,
week,
yeah.
in their beginning season,
Right.
they were getting torched.
Yep.
There's a
I
good
think that was a wet game too. That was a really
It was
game.
raining.
It was at
They didn't
Buffalo,
play.
Yeah.
There's a good chance, though, also in somewhere down the future with these guys going back and forth, that the Bills are going to get that home game at the end of the
True.
playoffs, and all of a sudden Kansas City's High Flyers are on the
Oh, yeah.
snow and ice up
That's
there
a
in
good
Buffalo with the lake effect hitting them
Right.
in the face.
Also, I want to
good
throw in
point.
one point. There was a rumor this week that the Buffalo owners were talking and visiting other places to possibly move the team. I think
Yep.
it's just a ploy to get a new stadium. I don't think
It's gonna be
Upper
a
New
good-
York will let that team leave, because that's kind of what Upper New York has. And I know personally a Bills fan, and it's a generational thing. You're born into that, and you don't leave
the Bills
Bills
Mafia.
fandom, right?
I call it the Mafia for a reason.
So look for a new stadium to be built, and look for the owner to have maybe 75 to maybe 100% of that paid by taxpayer
Oh,
dollars.
sure.
You heard it here first.
Ooh, all right. We'll tune in to the audience on that. So now let's go ahead and move on to the New England Patriots. So New England, this is I know it sounds shocking. They were 7-9 last year, and they did not make the playoffs. So I'm going to start this off with Chaz here. Where do you see New England this year?
I'm going to be honest. I'm kind of excited to watch New England play this year. I really want to see Cam Newton year two. I'm really excited about his play. I think Cam Newton is still a high caliber quarterback. I think he has physical capabilities that just other guys aren't gifted with. I think he played really well, particularly when they played Seattle. He had some deep balls. He was really in his flow. He was running the ball. I want to see what Josh McDaniels can do to just get him kind of more acquainted in that offense. And I think he has the targets, and I think he has a run game, and the Patriots have a very good defense. So I think that they can make a push and get a wild card spot. I'm really enthusiastic about what the Bills are going to do. I think that they're good enough to beat the Chiefs. It comes down to what the whole NFL is trying to figure out right now is how do you stop that man Patrick Mahomes and all those targets.
How about you, Don?
Well, right now I'm checking out their schedule. They got that big game against Tampa Bay week 4. But offensive-wise, I don't think they can do much more better than winning maybe 7 or 8 games this season.
Okay. How about you, Chris?
The offense is a big question. Cam didn't look super comfortable last year. Hopefully, full off season does him some well. I'm really curious to see. I think that the Patriots were one of the top teams for holdouts last year, and so I'm really, especially I think a lot of their defensive, like 2 or 3 starters that defense were in the pandemic. They didn't play. So that is, I mean, you get 2 or 3 starters from one year to another, that can change your defense. Especially, I think one of them was that their big linebacker. I can't think of his name right now.
Well, I know Dante Hightower didn't play.
Yeah,
He didn't play, and that was
that's a huge loss, and it was So he comes back in similar to form. I think they're going to get a couple more wins. Again, the offense being the big question. Can they push it up to where they're pushing Miami? I really think it's going to be between Miami and Buffalo for that second place in the division, or Miami and New England, I'm sorry, for second place in the division to Buffalo. And the winner of those is probably going to make the wild card.
Chuck?
The same aspect as far as short-term victories where you're looking at. New England's in a little bit more of a medium ground where they have answers. They got their quarterback to play the next couple years. He's still have years behind him, but Bill Belichick is a long-term, short-term, medium-term. He's an every-term thinking coach. He knows what that program is going to do. He knows where he wants it to go. And Mac Jones is their future. So what I think they're going to do is they're going to use Cam to win those 7, 8, 9. I mean, they had like 14 offensive touchdowns the entire season or something silly like that. So you just get just a little more progression out of the offense, and you're going to win 1 or 2 more games potentially. Like you said, the holdouts on the defense makes a big effect. So you could still see them pull, another 2 wins out of that, and maybe take the. I don't think you're going to get a wild card at 9, 10 wins because even other teams couldn't do it at 10. So, but I do think that their future, as far as Mac Jones and progression, I mean, they're one wide receiver from that offense of being a contender, for as far as division goes, because they're still one of the stronger teams in the division. But can you develop Mac Jones in the next coming years? New England they've had a lot of potential at backup quarterbacks becoming their new franchise guy after Tom Brady left, and apparently none of them worked out. They've had all the names in the book as far as second string, top tier guys, and they never progressed to become the starters. You know what I mean? So if he's your guy and you can develop him, then you have your 9, 10 win seasons coming up, and then you have your future there. I think they need to bring Patricia back because he obviously wasn't.
Back.
Oh, he is?
He is back.
Okay. I'm glad they did that.
Not as a coordinator or as a coordinator?
He is it's a weird title.
Assistant special defensive.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that's a good move for them. So they're in the position to go up, and I think you see 2 more wins out of it for sure.
So for me, Cam Newton's a quarterback right now. I was really hoping Chaz was going to touch on if Cam Newton had a tough time. When did they pull the trigger on Mac Jones?
I think early because I don't think Belichick is going to tolerate losing. He's not a loser. He's a football guy. He wants his guys on his team to win. It's about business. So I think you're thinking week 4, week 5. If they're not winning football games, if it takes a chance of them not winning the division, because Belichick's not going to settle for just laying over to Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's a pretty quick trigger, but I also think that when you're coming into a Patriots-like organization where Tom Brady ran it for so long with Bill Belichick, and you have to learn that offense and how the Patriots run things and the professionalism and the way you lead a locker room, the way you even talk to the media. I think you want to give that guy a little bit of time to settle in. And I think Cam Newton is a mature enough quarterback. He's had all the nasty. He's been thrown by the media. I think he's a true professional and a true athlete. And I think that he has potential to be good. If he will be, I'm not sure. But I think that year 2 could be very, very good for him.
Great points. I also want to get something to a point that Chris said. Big loss for the Patriots at middle linebacker Raekwon McMillan towards ACL on Saturday. That came out Saturday, so he is done for the year. Season-ending surgery. So can they fill that spot, and can that defense be what they need to be to win that division in those tough games when it's snowing and wet and outside?
I mean, for as all of Tom Brady's goatness, a lot of those Super Bowls were won on defense.
I've never heard that word goat.
Hey, you heard it here first.
That's right. Heard it here first.
I like it.
We're going to patent that. So, yeah. All right. So we all agree that for now, Buffalo's going to win that division.
Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. So that will be remained.
They have the $150 million man.
Sounds good. I think a few teams know about that, and it's not really working out as far as they'd like to either. But Kirk Cousins, maybe.
Yeah. Josh Allen is
only
not.
84.
I just mean as far as guaranteed money. Like that's.
Well, let's go ahead and switch on over to the NFC. So we've got the NFC East, and we're going to go ahead and start off with the Philadelphia Eagles. Fly, Eagles, fly. They were
The worst division in football.
All right, hold on.
History.
Okay, so we had them at 4-11. They did not make the playoffs, and their first pick, they picked up Jalen Reagor from TCU. So he's I don't know too much. All I know is that he's a wide receiver, and we're gonna have to do a little bit of our homework there. So we're gonna go ahead and start this off. Don, we'll start it off with you, Don. Where do you see the Eagles doing this year?
They have a tough schedule. Right now, their first win could possibly be against Dallas. That's just a week possible. But right now, within their first 7 games, they could easily be 0-7. And that could be very demoralizing for a team.
Chris?
Well, I am a fan of the Eagles. They're one of the teams that I would root for if I had to of any of those NFC East teams. But they are not very good on paper, at least. I believe Jalen Hurts is not their only quarterback on roster, but their QB1.
But he's still not officially locked down number one yet.
Right. They're in competition with Heineke, right?
Hanky.
Hey, Chad. Yeah.
So
Heineke.
it's sad. I think that they don't have a franchise quarterback right now, but they'll be maybe picking one, first or second in April.
How about you, Chuck?
Their biggest downfall is that their division is not great, obviously, but the other three teams are pretty well comparable wise. Like, you don't have two teams that are just going to, hey, these are your two teams in the division. That's who you have to worry about. I mean, the other three teams, every one of them was playoff contender late at the end of the season because how bad they all were. So,
Correct.
Realistically, if you make the playoffs, no matter what your record is, you just made the playoffs in the NFL. Like, that's a success and that's a win all right then and there. So the tough part for them to do is just they've got 6 games against teams that can probably beat them both times of the season. And they can beat them both times in the season because of how those 3 teams show up to play NFL games all the time as well. So that's probably more of their worry. I mean, their quarterback is a worry, but every year talent comes in, every year talent moves. I mean, you could see a trade come in at the mid-season,
sure,
and that team's now the playoff run team. So I think that they're not as bad off as the AFC East teams because at least they have a chance to win or to go to the playoffs. Like, they have a chance
with a worse record than some of those AFC teams.
They can make an 8-9 win playoff bound team. So let that be their one shining hope for the season, I think.
How about you, Eric?
So what I've heard is camp is going terrible for the offense.
Mm-hmm.
Jalen Hurts is not having a good time. They're beat up already. A lot of injuries, including their new star wide receiver, Devontae Smith. He has an MCL sprain. He's week to week already. So that's a weapon you're taking away from Jalen Hurts right there, and that's supposed to spread the field. So that hurts him there. So they can't get that cohesion, even though they played a couple years together at Alabama. I think the defense is going to be the only shining spot if that offense can't get going. And this is kind of could be a chance for Jalen Hurts to take the spot, but he's got to show up.
This is a new coaching staff this year, right?
I'm not 100% sure.
I thought they got rid of Peterson. He won their first Super Bowl, but sure, get rid of
Hey, what have you done for me lately?
Well, Zach Ertz. Didn't he get traded to the Lions or something?
No, he's still there.
He's
Zach
still
Ertz
there.
is still there.
Okay. All right. I thought someone
left. That's what you get with those high octane offensive coordinators, high risk, high reward. You have high caliber guys come in, you have high caliber guys come out. Andy Reid suffered with it early in his career. You saw the hot seat that's in LA. I mean, they're not going to be easy on any of these guys that have flashy offenses when they're losing big because they're getting on the field and they're getting off the field quick.
Right.
And it's a lot of time on that.
We all know the number one rule in the NFL. It's what can you do for me right now?
Yeah, agreed. It's championship caliber offense and defense and special teams for a lot of these teams, and anything less, let's get on the hot seat. There's very few franchises that keep guys around and let them stay.
The Steelers.
Yeah.
And we know
the Bengals let ours lose and stay, though.
Well, we know already that the Eagle fans are very unforgiving, so
they don't like losing.
They don't like losing.
I want to see what Jalen Hurts does this season. I think that he might not be a high caliber quarterback, but I think he has potential to be somewhat like Dak Prescott or Deshaun Watson. Not that caliber, but like a Kirk Cousins version.
I think his ceiling is there. His ceiling is definitely there.
But I think with the right guys around him, with his athleticism, I think if he can get over some of the growing pains that we saw last season, he can shake those off. With camp not going well, that's not promising. But for Philly, it's always been, how can we stay healthy? And I want to know who their strength and conditioning coach is, because their secondary is always beat up. Their wide receivers are always beat up. Their offensive line is always beat up, and you just can't win football games.
They lose linemen left and right.
You're injured like that.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to the Washington football team. So this is very interesting here. So they were 7-9. They won the division, and they did go into the playoffs, but they lost to the Super Bowl champions Tampa Bay Bucks. So, Eric, Washington this year, do you see a repeat for winning the division?
Possibly. They have Fitzmagic, and I know he's a journeyman, and he's a twitchy, sparky kind of guy. The defense is there. They got Chase Young. That was the Ryan Kerrigan replacement. They can make some things happen. They have Landon Collins trying to prove that he's the best safety in football. So the backside is there. They just have to keep Fitzpatrick hot. And how long can he stay hot?
I can't remember the young receiver's name right now,
I can't either.
but he is an absolute monster.
Is it Terry? You guys put me on the spot there.
Well, we got a brain fart, but the young
Terry
receiver.
McLaurin.
Yes.
Yeah. He is a freaking monster, and I think you're right with Fitzmagic. I mean, you're going to get a lot of streaky football, but I mean, in that division, especially if Dak Prescott's not healthy and the Cowboys can't, I haven't looked at the rest of their schedule and kind of mapped that out. But if we map that out and we kind of see where we're looking in the win-loss category, I think Washington could win this division if Saquon Barkley doesn't have a season like he did
When he was healthy.
When he was healthy.
And they do have Ron Rivera as well, a very good coach that can. I think him and Fitzmagic can.
They
do
bought
something.
in for him. I mean, you saw it in the playoffs. That was a Washington football team that came out and played. I mean, they were playing Tampa Bay, a high caliber team. They didn't have high caliber talent like them, and they fought tooth and nail. That was a fun football game to watch.
Football game.
Because Tampa barely won, didn't they, in that
Correct.
game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it was I can't remember the quarterback that came in, but he was a blast to watch. He played.
Actually, it was Heineke. So
Yeah,
we
it
were
was
talking about
Chad
the Eagles.
Heineke.
He's not on the Eagles. Flacco's their backup.
Oh, that's right.
But Heineke or Heineke. I think it's Heineke.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's the one that
a
came in.
kid.
He had that rushing touchdown, and he was.
That kid was exciting
He's
to
out
watch.
Is that Iowa, maybe?
Somehow he carries it over. If somehow Fitzmagic tutors him a little bit and he becomes something.
Yeah.
You never know in this league, boys.
You never know.
Hey, Don, you know what's going to be their official name next year?
The Wolfpack? Is it the Washington
They
Wolfpack?
released.
Not
They
sure
released
yet.
the name yet?
I don't know.
No,
Not
they
I don't think it's until next year.
until next year.
Right.
I was just throwing it out there to see if
I
anybody knew
didn't think they released the actual name yet. They just said they had it.
I've heard Wolfpack. A rumor. I've heard Wolfpack. Washington
We
Wolfpack.
saw how that worked in Las Vegas. So.
Right.
All right. So moving on to the New York Giants, the G-Men. So they went 6-10 last year. They did not go to the playoffs, and they suffered a lot of injuries. So I'm going to start this off with you, Chaz. Where do you see where they were at last year and possibly going in this year?
Yeah, I think last season is a little bit of a spoof, especially with some of those guys getting hurt early, coming off a COVID season. That's another thing we haven't highlighted through this whole thing is these rookies from last season. This is their first time going through OTAs and training camp and really getting a feel for what the NFL is about. I think Daniel Jones has the potential to be a good quarterback in this league, believe it or not. I think if Saquon Barkley can stay there, and he even showed some real talent when he wasn't there, and he had a couple giant runs, and he showed that he's athletic and he can make the throws. They need to be better on defense. They need Saquon Barkley to be healthy. Again, that division is up for grabs, especially, I mean, I'm still pondering this Dak Prescott thing. I know I got all you Cowboys fans worried.
What about you, Chris?
The Giants, Eli Manning, I think, gets a little raw deal because he took them to 2 Super Bowls and won them.
Hang on.
Wild card teams.
That defense took them to 2 Super Bowls.
It's true, but he was still the quarterback.
He was.
Plexico Burris, baby.
And he threw the incredible pass that got caught.
His greatest pass ever.
Absolutely.
Eli Manning
I'm sure he would.
Playoffs was a freaking different breed.
Sure.
I mean, you give a Brady
And
11 rings if Peyton Manning's parents never existed.
And I don't think Daniel Jones is Eli Manning. The coaching staff, we'll see where that goes. The same as last year, Joe Judge and Jason Garrett on the offensive side.
Pat Schumer still there?
Not sure.
I didn't see him on here.
Hey, Chris, you said Daniel Jones is not Eli Manning. Is he better or worse, in your opinion?
I would say, I mean, he's probably a little more physically talented, more athletic.
Which
but,
Eli?
Well,
Yeah,
Obviously, I mean, over a long
Talking
career,
hot hand
20,
Eli? Hot
Good.
hand Eli was something to be
playoffs,
dealt with.
Eli is better, and that's where you make your money. So
But that was a good point that you said on the defense, especially with the Giants. When you first had Michael Strahan, you had Michael Strahan on the one in there. Then you also
Justin, who was the other guy?
Jason Pierre-Paul,
Jason Pierre-Paul.
Justin Tuck.
Tuck,
Even
and then
with 3
JPP on the
fingers
second one, on the second Super Bowl that when they beat New England, they had JPP, and then offensively they had all the weapons going. I mean, because when they went into the playoffs, they beat the Cowboys when they were 13-3. Remember that when T.O. was playing for the Cowboys, they beat them there. They beat the okay. Let me see. I'm trying to remember here. They beat the
Packers.
They beat the Packers in one of the NFC
'Cause Aaron
conference,
Rodgers,
and
they
then they
came
beat
off
the
the-
49ers. They beat the 49ers because I remember they beat them back in San Francisco.
And
That
both
year-
those times they were wild cards, right?
The Giants were
Yeah.
9-7.
I don't
The
think they can
Packers
make it. I
came
don't-
in Super Bowl favorites off of a bye week and they just got it handed to them.
But are they able to even have a record that gets in the wild card this year?
in that
Out of that division,
yeah.
it's not.
That division
To get a wild card?
isn't going to have a wild
Oh,
card.
They'd have to.
spot.
That's what. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Not in the same NFC we're talking.
And I don't
about.
think they're better than Washington. I think that defense in Washington is just going to eat, especially.
That-
Oh, hold it. All right, and I know where you're going. Let's introduce them. Them boys, Dallas Cowboys. Here we go.
Well, before we go there, let me jump in on the Giants real quick because a lot of people aren't talking about this. They've had 2 fights break out at camp, the Giants, and they've had
Ooh.
three veterans retire.
I did see that. Yeah, that's.
Zach Fulton retired, Joe Looney retired, and Todd Davis, a linebacker, retired. So they've had the locker room and the camp is really kind of shook up right now. Can they pull it together in time for this team to even win games?
Well, those kind of things could either be the spark to make them great or the spark to make them blow up.
fall apart. I hope it's just some tenacity. I hope it's a young program excited to win some football games. But, I mean, you never know what's going inside an
Right.
NFL locker room at all.
Well, I want to say we're sorry to the Dallas Cowboy fans because we didn't even give you a chance to fully introduce because we were being a little rude here. So we're sorry about that. All right, so let's give it
I'm
back.
sorry.
Let's,
All
let's,
right.
let's respect.
Now we can
Let's
do it.
respect America's team, please. All right.
Nope.
So,
I didn't vote for him.
all right. So like I said, they went 6-10. They didn't make the playoffs. So they picked up Penn State player in college first draft, Micah Parsons. So I'm going to start this off with Chaz here. Chaz, where do you see Dallas going this year?
Chaz or Chuck?
Chaz.
Yeah, for Dallas, I think you just get Dallas Cowboy football. The big question is, how will Dak Prescott come back, and how can he produce? Is he going to be able to produce for 4 quarters? Is that defense going to be able to stop anybody and give them a chance to prevail? I think CeeDee Lamb will be exciting. I think Amari Cooper will be exciting. They'll be fun to watch. Ezekiel Elliott's no longer fat. He's been working out, lost a lot of weight. He kind of got sick of people making fun of him, but I mean, he's healthy. If you got Dak Prescott coming back, I think that they should be favorites to win this division easily. But can the defense stop anybody? Will Dak Prescott be able to play very well and not just play well, but win football games? And that's what matters. And Dak Prescott is probably in the same caliber as Kirk Cousins on that. So I feel for you Cowboys fans. I'm interested to see how it goes. I can't say I'm rooting for you, but we'll see how the season plays out.
All right, Chuck. Sorry about that. Go ahead, Chuck.
Oh, you're good. I mean, they are the favorite. Like you can look at the betting odds. That they're going in with the roster, but they have bigger question marks than they do solid numbers in the stat line, or as far as betting in Vegas goes, because that's what's going to end up happening. Is what happens throughout the season. That's an injury that I don't know if I've seen someone come back from at the same caliber they were, because it's just an odd injury to have, and I can't imagine what it's like to go through that mentally and then try to get your body physically back to it. And now he's dealing with another injury, so it's not just what he had; it's what he's going into again. So, on the book or on the roster list, I mean, that team, yeah, their defense isn't as solidified as it probably should be or could be. But if you saw what they did in their first 5 games, it didn't matter. It honestly didn't matter. And I give Dak Prescott a lot more credit than people probably did. When you sit there and say, well, of course he threw for 500 yards. He had to. Every losing team in the NFL has to throw for hundreds of yards more to win the game. And they never do, because that's why they lost the game. Dak Prescott did. He did win those games, and he was on his way to doing it throughout the entire season. Last year, had he stayed on the field, they would have won the division by probably 4 or 5 games, I think.
Easy.
So if he's healthy and they're there. I think Zeke has a little bit more of a personality issue he needs to get over. You lose weight and you're still getting hit. I think that weight helped him break a lot of tackles. And he still has a fumbling problem. So his mental game, I think, is a bigger issue for him. Have the season go by and he doesn't lose a ball, I think his confidence is up and he's going to be doing what he needs to be doing, and I think that helps them out a lot. The receivers have no questions. I mean, obviously they're stacked. So,
hey Chris, wasn't there a shakeup on the coordinators over there in Dallas?
I'm not sure, but I have a feeling this might be Mike McCarthy's last year in Dallas. Like you said, there's bigger questions, like you're saying, Chuck. And I kind of see Ezekiel Elliott almost like Kyrie, like just weird. Like his mind's not always quite there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm not a fan of Dallas. So last year was kind of great because they went in and didn't win very well and still got their hearts broke at the end. I know it's harsh.
I do not approve of this message, by the way. But go ahead.
Oh, that's all I gotta say. I mean, we'll see. They might be able to beat the Eagles this year, so that'll be good for them.
Eric, help me out, Eric.
All right, so Dak Prescott is obviously a question mark, but for me, the biggest question mark is Ezekiel Elliott getting paid, coming off his worst year in his career. Is he going to show up and protect Dak and take a little weight off him, because they need to let him get back into the fold after he comes back from the second injury. And he needs to be the $16 million running back that he says he is. They paid him the money, but then he didn't show up. You can't have that in that position. Running back for the Dallas Cowboys is a very coveted position, and he's not filling the role right now.
Yeah, your one main job is ball security, and he's not doing it right.
Correct.
I think he has less fumbling issues with Dak coming back. I think that he won't be trying to make as big of plays, and he's an angry runner. I mean, a lot of people forget about Adrian Peterson. Early in his career, had a huge fumbling issue, and it wasn't a lack of ball security. It's the lack of, there's 5 dudes on you. Is it worth 2 yards?
Yeah, good point.
Also, the Cowboys corners in the Hall of Fame game, the rookies, they did very well. They held Chase Poole down. That was a weak spot for the Cowboys.
Mason Rudolph fumbling snaps.
Yes.
I mean, but yeah,
that is Mason.
You're right.
That was a question mark for the Cowboys for a long time, was corner.
Diggs is nice over there.
Micah Parsons, he did very well for his first time seeing the field. I think he can help out. Van Der Esch, I think is his name.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good.
But isn't he injury prone?
I mean, that's the Cowboys' middle linebacker position is kind of injury prone. So,
yeah. Because who was the one that just retired? Was it Sean Lee?
Yeah, Sean Lee.
Sean Lee.
Yep.
He was great, but just
He would have been
Gotta stay on
dominant
the
if he would have
field.
stayed healthy.
absolutely.
Ridiculous.
Absolutely. So I think they have a chance to be good. It all depends on how Dak and Zeke come out and that defense. If those corners, those young corners, can play in this league.
So yeah,
the whole
Trayvon
season.
Diggs transitions into his second year. His first year was nice. He just had a lot of rookie things.
I mean, he was a rookie, though. Like you said, this is the second year.
Well, I feel that Dallas, overall, I mean, they've got the weapons. They can challenge in this division. I'm not going to say the conference. In
I'm
the
not worried about
division,
it in the
it's not bad. On paper, I think they can do it. But we'll just have to see. So that will be yet again, we'll just have to see. So that concludes the NFC and AFC East. The next show we're going to do is the AFC and NFC West. So we will go ahead and see where they're going at. So let's go ahead and tune in and thank our following sponsors.
Hey everyone, it's time to put new life into your painting with Chris Arredondo. Call him for all your painting needs, indoor and outdoor. Make all your things look new with Chris. Call him at 316-992-6434. That's New Life Painting with Chris Arredondo.
All right, so Chuck, we got another episode of Chuck's Dugout. So we're going to talk a little bit about the Major League Baseball and what is going on. So Chuck, what can you tell me what's going on right now in the league?
Well, I mean, the trade deadline's over with. You had a bunch of moves and acquisitions, so that was a lot of the talk about going into the week and stuff like that. I still think that the focus and really lies, going into the postseason is the Dodgers' big moves. That was huge for them. It won't last. You get 1 year out of it, but their acquisitions in Cole Hamels and Max Scherzer, that's a big deal. I still say I give the Giants the edge in the division, just because they're playing as a ball team. Like they've been doing it this long in the season. It's not a gimmick. They're hitting the ball. They're pitching well. I think they're leading the league in home runs, leading the league in ERA. So I still give them the edge, based off the Dodgers not playing with that roster right now. Clayton Kershaw's not back yet, so you may get him for the postseason, and which one you're going to get, that's a bigger question mark there. Some of the other teams made big moves too. The Astros pulled in their young pitching for their trade deadline moves. I still like the White Sox, man. I think that's exciting for them, like that team and that city. I think that's really cool for them. When the Cubs won it, that team, I mean, that city, that's what that city is. They live off sports like that stuff. So that was big for them. I think the White Sox winning still is pretty good. But yeah, I just think that the main focus is still going to be on the Giants and Dodgers right now. You've got other teams that can do it, and once you get to the playoffs, it's anything can happen in the fall. So
could you tell me a little bit about the New York Yankees? They were doing pretty terrible during the beginning, but now they're having this emergence and they're rising through the AL East. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, lately they've been doing a lot better. They've been pulling 2 to 3 wins out of every 4 to 5 games, it seems like. And that's when you want your late push. You want it going into the September and August month. So they'll be a team to, probably pull the wild card. They're not going to win the division, but, I'd still give them a wild card for sure. And then they have that new format for the playoffs itself. So, if you don't see them in the playoffs, it's kind of odd. It is weird to not see the Yankees, but they're not doing it with big roster names either. That's just how they've had to change their culture as far as that goes. Paying the luxury tax to get you across the hump is not their thing right now. So, I mean, they're still getting paid, but.
And still talking about the New York Yankees, did you see that they're going to have a Field of Dreams edition of the game?
Man,
that's so awesome.
That is cool. It brings a novelty factor to the game, with they had this whole cheating thing and issue going on with pitchers and stuff like that, and stuff that takes away from the game. So to have something like that, it's only like 8,000 seats, I think, go into the field, but surrounded by a maze of corn and stuff like that, that's something cool, man. I really like that. When you talk about America's pastime, you get to add that to the season and stuff like that. So very cool. Their uniforms are nice too. I kind of dig those.
All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and keep continuing. Talk a little bit more later on Chuck's Dugout. So to the audience, if you have any questions about baseball, your team, hit us with a comment and questions perhaps, and we'll be there to answer that to you. So we are now going into the favorite segment of Mano a Mano. This segment is brought to you by State Farm. Contact Ernie Relis at 11330 East Central Avenue in Wichita, Kansas, or give him a call at 316-682-2300 for your home, life, and car insurance. It's a free quote. Thank you, Ernie and staff. All right, so we're going to start off with, so far, week 1, Patrick won. Week 2, Chaz won over here. So who's going to be the top dog? We're about to find out. So we're starting off here with Eric and Chris. So with the recent moves that the Lakers has had with the new additions, do you feel that they're supposed to be a title contender, yes or no? And I'm going to start that off with Eric.
Coming out of the West, they're always a contender. If LeBron is there, any team LeBron's on is a contender. Do I think that this will have them take the West? It could help them. I mean, you're talking about a Warriors team that's going to come back and be healthy. Steph Curry, the name just escaped me of the other shooter on that team. Yeah, Klay Thompson. He's going to be healthy. Draymond obviously still playing good ball. Just won that gold medal. You can't count them out of the West. I don't think the way that they're making moves, the Lakers organization is trying to win right now, and they're getting older. I don't believe Anthony Davis is a big of a threat. He's a 6'7", or he's a 6'11", 7-footer that had PJ Tucker checking him and would not take him down on the block. He was taking step back jumpers. You can't have that in this league. If you're going to be a dominant dynasty team, you have to take him to the rack every time. So until that happens, I don't think they're a legitimate contender.
Chris?
I'm going to say they are a legitimate contender. I mean, LeBron, Anthony Davis, as long as they're healthy, I think they're going to come back healthy. They kind of faded there at the end of last year with their health. They've had now all summer. They didn't have the real long playoff push again last year. That's going to bring them in. Westbrook signed with them, right?
He did.
I think that's going to be, someone with some good ball control that can get the ball around for them. I think they can win. Yes.
Streaky guys. I mean, Anthony Davis, injury prone.
Carmelo.
I mean, any
Dwight Howard.
any team's injury. The Nets are a great team unless Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and
get hurt,
and Harden aren't playing. That's
Something else we got to talk about with those moves: chemistry. Can all three of those guys and the coach get them to play on the same page?
Well, we know
successful?
LeBron and Davis play well together,
and add Carmelo.
And yeah,
somebody won a gold medal with.
I think you got the big dog. You got alpha. I mean, LeBron's alpha. Westbrook's not. He's gonna do it. He wants a ring. He wants a ring.
That's what
he knows. KD got his when he left. He was so close there. He wants a ring.
Yep.
All right. So, Chris, we'll go ahead and give you that one because that was a good point. Good point.
Good job,
so,
Chris.
Next up, this is going to be Chuck and Chaz here. So, signing Josh Allen, massive 6-year contract. Is that worth a good investment for Buffalo? I'll start that off with Chaz.
Absolutely. I love this move by Buffalo. You bring Stephon Diggs in and give Josh Allen a legitimate target, and he takes you and puts you in contention with what should have been the Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. I think it's an awesome investment. I like the upside of Josh Allen. I thought that even in his first year, if you watch the games, this guy produced. He was putting the ball on the money. He was just throwing it off of guys. I think his arm talent is up there with Patrick Mahomes. I still look forward to them doing that throwing competition if it ever happens. But I think that the Buffalo Bills have and may be the only people in the AFC that really can beat Kansas City and stop Patrick Mahomes. So I think Josh Allen has the arm talent and capability to do it. I think it's a great investment by Buffalo.
Chuck?
Well, obviously it's a good investment. Anytime you take your franchise quarterback and you put the money where the mouth is, and not only is he doing it with his arm, but that guy rushes for more touchdowns than almost any quarterback in the league. Some running backs too. So he's obviously got the physical stature, and now he's going to be getting the money. What I do think is a bad investment is how are these teams going to take these quarterback contracts and then disperse the extra money elsewhere, because defense wins championships and offensive quarterbacks need offensive weapons. He has Stephon Diggs. The run game could use a little bit of attention, but you're blocking up front. At some point, you're going to have to pay those linemen too and get those linemen in there. So it's a great investment for the quarterback. I just want to see how the upper management can take that money elsewhere and develop the team as a team, because Tom Brady never did it with just Tom Brady. You know what I'm saying? So.
And to touch on that, I think he'll restructure like most quarterbacks do. I mean, Matthew Stafford did it for Calvin Johnson. Tom Brady's done it year in and year out. I mean, I think you're right, though. I think it gets tough. I think that's what Kansas City runs into in the future.
All right. Since he was right, we'll go ahead and give that to Chuck. So, Chuck, you got that one. Good job. All right. So now we got Don and Eric here. So I'm going to start off with you, Don. Are the Colts in trouble, or everything will be fine there in Indianapolis?
I think they are in trouble because they brought him in to take him on that next step. And without him playing, I don't think their backup right now is going to really carry him over. Defensive-wise, they're mediocre at best. They got some offensive weapons, for the quarterback to throw to, but if he ain't that top-notch quarterback for him to get the ball to him, I don't see them doing anything here in the regular season.
They're definitely in trouble. It was a question mark where Carson Wentz would go. He went there. Obviously, they paid him the money, and then he gets hurt. So I mean, this was kind of his last chance, to be honest. He got ran out of, lost his job in Philly. The Colts picked him up. He's injury prone. He got injured again. They re-signed Ty for stability to give him somebody that, knows that locker room and kind of is the face when there was no quarterback there. And now the guy that you want to take you is hurt. I don't know if they can come back from that. I think that franchise could be 3 to 5 years in the toilet if they don't figure out something quick.
They also have the offensive lineman get hurt with the same exact injury. So that's another peg against them.
And one of their key offensive guys retired.
They're still super legit on defense.
Yes.
Do you feel that when they interviewed, was it Nick Foles? When there was a rumor that supposedly they were calling him back, do you feel if he would have joined back with Carson Wentz, because it's been his...
You got to say bye to Carson Wentz then. I mean, what happened to Carson Wentz in Philly is something that, like, if you're not a player or if you haven't had a position like that, it's tough to see. You take that team all the way to the Super Bowl, you don't win it. Next season, you get injured. Same guys still playing well. The locker room there's controversy in the locker room saying that they'd rather Nick Foles be their starter.
You're
you
out.
Get squeezed out.
You're
the
out.
franchise already doesn't believe in you. You get replaced by Jalen Hurts in a few games. Whatever.
Yeah.
All right, well, Eric, I'll go ahead and give you that one there. So congrats on that. All right, so now we're going to the knockout stage here. So I got Chris and Chuck here. So I'm going to start this off with Chuck. Chuck, should Peyton Manning be a Bronco or a Colt going into the Hall of Fame?
Honestly, I think Peyton Manning gets to choose whatever he wants to choose when it comes to his Hall of Fame ballot. He should rightfully go to the Colts just because that was the majority of his stint as a career. But it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And he took the Broncos to the Super Bowl, you know what I mean? So it's up to Peyton Manning. I mean, it's his Hall of Fame career. He's one of the best quarterbacks that the league has ever seen, if not the best, So I think it goes up to Peyton Manning and whatever he wants to be.
Chris?
I'm going to go ahead and pick one. I got to say the Colts. He spent most of his career, like you said, Chuck, and you think back to the great Peyton. He did play a couple of them, but most of his Brady Manning, those conflicts were during his Colt time, which was just great games, great seasons. He had some amazing seasons. His Colt partners, Marvin Harrison, the records that those guys set.
Reggie Wayne,
yes. So I think that, and I think that also he needs to take a little piece of that coat, maybe his right arm, and just give it to that defense in 2016, because he wouldn't have had that second one. I mean, the first one that he went to with the Broncos that they lost, he did take him there, absolutely. But that second one, goodness gracious, he needs to, I said, give an arm of that Hall of Fame jacket to him, because that was Von Miller and company.
On that note, Chris. Okay, so in the Brady and Peyton rivalry going on, when he was with the Colts, he struggled. He only beat he beat Tom Brady only once, because that year. Remember when the Jets, they beat the Patriots in the playoffs, but ended up being that the Colts beat the Jets in the AFC Championship. When he was with Denver, guess who Peyton Manning beat twice in the AFC Championship? Tom Brady. So on that one, I'm going to go ahead and give that one to Chuck.
Actually, if I can, then since I won it already, I'm actually going to say he should retire as a Bronco, because in the Brady Manning, basically greatest of all time, the GOATness. Who's going to have the higher GOATness? What really solidifies it is what separates you from the other one. Well, that would be it, because when Peyton Manning did it, he went to a completely different franchise, had a good defense, he still won the Super Bowl, and that's what he did. Then you'd say, okay, well, now who's doing it now? Well, that's Tom Brady. He went to another franchise, and he did it with a defense. So I would say Peyton Manning, as far as your Hall of Fame career goes, what's your staple? That would be the end.
I'm going to throw in one for the Colts, because I'll look at it like this. The Colts franchise was in the dumps when he got there. He made it exciting again. There's a whole bunch of kids named Peyton because he was in Indianapolis. And let's be honest. Lucas Oil Stadium, whatever it is now, it was Lucas Oil. He built that.
The house that Peyton built.
Exactly. I'm going to say he should go in as a Colt. That's my opinion.
I agree.
Well, So the franchise wants him to be a Colt.
Oh, absolutely.
But what does Peyton Manning want?
He wants some pizza.
Omaha Steaks.
I will tell you, I met Peyton Manning. He's a great guy. He was real friendly. I remember seeing him when it was his last year as a Colt. He didn't play because remember he had that neck surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget, he came out and he was humble, very humble guy. He just came out, signed autographs, real polite to talk to. Who would have thought that this was the guy that I did not like? I couldn't stand Peyton Manning because I'm a Broncos fan. And just to watch him next to him playing golf with John Elway, next thing you know, he becomes a Denver Bronco. One of my favorite games was when that year we won the division, but we lost to the Ravens. Remember when Joe Flacco threw it to Jacoby Jones? And then that first game opener, we torched the Ravens. We went on going to the Super Bowl, but we lost to the Seahawks.
Well, that was the year Ravens won when they beat.
No, they won the year
before that.
Yeah, the first year that Peyton went, yes, the Ravens did win the Super Bowl.
Right.
But the second year
they beat. You guys blew them out the first game of the season.
The first game of the season.
Let me throw in another point too. Let's talk about the Manning family as a sports family. Have you guys seen Arch Manning's tape?
Is the young one?
Cooper's son,
Yeah.
the brother,
the oldest brother.
Yes, the oldest brother.
Both brothers both said that Cooper was the best. He got hurt. I think ACL knee injury.
He was a wide receiver.
He got hurt
He had a neck injury.
his neck.
before medicine was quite what it is now.
It was a neck injury.
I mean, I think he's healthy and doing fine, but not able to play NFL.
But his son, they're saying he might be the best Manning
ever
quarterback.
That's
pretty, College is already after him right now.
He doesn't know where he wants to go. He went to Clemson. He's been to Ole Miss, and he's been to Tennessee. It all depends on what legacy he wants to set. But
is Clemson where Cooper Manning went?
I
thought he went out west. I thought he was in California somewhere.
But his tape is nasty.
You know where he goes? He goes to Alabama. That's where he goes.
They're on the docket too.
Split the SEC ballot.
Well, he's coming out at the right time. NILs.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead. Let's move on. So next up is going to be Chaz and Don. So I'm going to start this off with Chaz. Chaz, should Deshaun be benched or Deshaun Watson should be benched or play this season? And why?
That's really going to just depend on what Deshaun wants to do. I think he should blackball Houston and get out of there. I think he's one of the best young franchise quarterbacks in this league. I love the style of play he has. I love how electric he is. I love the way he's tough and runs the ball, extends drives. But if he's available, if Deshaun says, I want to play football, and you're the Houston Texans and you don't let him play, you're insane.
Don?
Well, if he wants to play for him, let him play. Because what else are they going to do? Because right now, I don't see them with a backup quarterback right now. So, but yet he still mentioned he wants to leave Houston. So, where does that really leave them? But as far as right now goes, as long as he stays in Houston, if he's willing to play, they would be crazy not to play him. But otherwise, is he going to really play for him? Because he really wants to get out of there. So, as of right now, where's he going to go?
I mean, that's it. I don't think he should play in Houston ever again. If I'm him.
Are you saying he's going to bench himself?
I think he should.
And pay the fines?
Screw it. He'll make that money elsewhere. Somebody else will pay him. It's bigger than just money for a lot of these guys, especially a guy like Deshaun Watson, where he comes in and he's the face of your franchise right away, and you get rid of everything around him, literally everything. You got J.J. Watt out the door. You got DeAndre Hopkins, the best, probably top 3 receiver, arguably named number 1, and you're probably wrong.
Best receiver that franchise has had so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
Andre Johnson is something else.
Yeah,
he was.
Yeah, but I mean, DeAndre Hopkins arguably could be the best.
Well, Johnson will be the best because he's going to have the most yards because Hopkins got kicked to the curb.
It was a different style game of football, but I mean, I think you get this. I think you pack your bags and get out of Houston.
Don, you got anything to say on top of that?
That's about it.
About it. All right, so you gave it to Chaz pretty much. So Chaz wins that one. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start this off here. Chuck and Eric here. So I'm going to start this off with Chuck. For the NFL season game opener, who will win and why? Dallas or Tampa Bay?
Who's going first?
You
right.
Chuck.
Well, that's an easy pick. Tampa Bay is going to win. Well, because Tampa Bay has Tom Brady and Tampa Bay has Tampa Bay's defense. And they have every starter on the roster still signed to the team. But probably even easier vote than that is it's because Dallas Cowboys playing against Tampa Bay. And right now, Dallas Cowboys don't have a solid answer on Dak's health, and they clearly struggled in a season or a preseason game opener, which I know isn't all telling, but it's still a picture into the gameplay. So for really all the right and obvious reasons, Tampa Bay wins that game opener.
So I'm going to say Tampa Bay is going to win this game, and it's going to be almost a blowout.
Man, I was hoping you'd say trap game.
Yeah. They signed for the first time ever all 22 starters on both sides of the ball. That's never happened before. They do have, I can't believe I'm saying this, the great Tom Brady. Too many question marks on Dallas. Dak Prescott is a question mark. Ezekiel Elliott is a question mark. The offensive line is a question mark. Their head coach is a question mark. And, of course, that defense is a question mark. So Tampa Bay doesn't have any questions. They have a good coach. They're coming off defending Super Bowl champions. This is an easy game and a statement game, and I think they're going to win this game so bad Jerry Jones might cry.
Chuck, you got anything to say? You're drowning.
I will say this. If he can make Jerry Jones cry, then I'd give it to him because that's what I'd like to see.
All right. So, hey,
Yeah,
I'm going to go ahead and
that's a
hand that
good
one to you. So this is going to be a rematch. So for the final question, so we got Eric going against Chad. Well, Chaz repeat. We're about to find out. All right. So we're going to start this off with you, Chad. Kawhi Leonard has re-signed with the LA Clippers. So is it worth him staying in LA, or he should have went to another team? Explain that, please.
I think right now that's the best place you can be. You're not going to LA with LeBron. You're not going and joining the Nets. No, none of them can pay you. You're still a contender. Obviously, it's tough to win in the West. It's always going to be tough with Golden State coming back healthy. And again, we failed to mention Iguodala coming back. He signed, I think, today or yesterday. You got that original championship team added up, and I think that Kawhi's built, and he's a force and a wrecking. I think he's similar to Giannis. I think Giannis is similar to him. I think it's best you stay put and keep winning with that franchise, and maybe they get ahead of steam in the playoffs. I mean, we saw what the Suns did. We saw what some of these question mark teams did. We saw what the Heat did a few years ago, and he went and did it with the Raptors. So I think staying in LA was the best suit for him right now.
So here's why staying in LA is what Kawhi wanted to do. Remember, he left San Antonio because he wasn't happy. He won with the Raptors. Where did he want to go after the Raptors? He wanted to go home. He's still home where he wants to be. So I think that's why it's a good reason for him to stay. He doesn't have really any competition. It's his team. He's happy there. The franchise likes him there. They're building around him there. And the most important thing, he's rested. He knows the coach. He knows the program. He's rested. He's going to be healthy, and he's going to be happy. If he's not happy, he leaves. That's his MO. If he's not happy, he leaves.
I have nothing left to say. That was a good take.
Thank you.
You have any more icing on the cake?
Cake's iced.
Let's eat.
You're right. 100% accurate.
All right. So
Simple
you've been
guy.
dethroned for this week. So Eric won the Top Dog Award. All right. You were close. You're close.
Congrats,
You're,
man. That was awesome.
that was a
Thank you.
good point. That was good. That's good. So, so we'll find out next week who's going to be the next Top Dog. So, please, to the audience, what we'd like to say is that please follow us as an entity. We are Razor Cut Information. We have Wichita Vice. We have the Cutting Crew. And we're going to unveil the new channels, Quantum Unveiled and Diplomatic Resolution. So want to say our closing shout outs. I would like to say, hey, thank you to the audience. Thank you guys. Thank you to the family, friends, everyone who tunes in. I want to also say thank you, and I appreciate to everyone that listens to us in any way, shape, or form when it comes to either you're waking up, you're at work, or you're doing your activity, whatever it is. Thank you for taking time to listen to us.
I'd like to say thank you to everybody as well. A lot of friends that I've sent this to and different links, YouTube, Spotify, got a lot of positive feedback. Some people say this is work, talking about sports. I love this. I live for this. I love talking with you guys about sports. So I'm just, this is a dream for me and I'm living it out. And as long as I can keep doing it, I'm going to do it. So I just say, Carlos, thank you for the opportunity. Chuck, Chris, Don, Chaz, thank you for the great sports talk. This is therapeutic for me, so I appreciate it.
Yeah, man. Thanks, Carlos, for this opportunity, brother. I really do enjoy it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I forgot earlier. I want to shout out to my wife and kids. Thank you guys for letting me come out here and do this. And thank the crew back there, keeping our sound going and putting it all together. Thanks, guys.
Just a shout out here to the crew and the fellas back there. I just appreciate coming around hanging out with you guys. And
Appreciate
chopping
it.
it up and talk about sports.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everybody tuning in. Thanks you guys for bringing new perspectives and new takes on things. It's always a pleasure. Carlos, thank you for putting it together. You guys back there, thank you for everything you do. Yeah, I hope you guys tune in and enjoy the show. These takes and these guys, we put our time in. It's a lot of fun. So, again, thank you, Carlos. Thank you guys for tuning in. But that's all.
All right, we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode. Thank you, guys.
Thanks.